Welcome back. All right, so this is how the round robin's going to go, huh? I watched the Czechs. I was excited to watch the Czechs, and early on, it looked like this was going to be a really good back and forth game. Parik in the net, fresh off of a shutout over the Russians. I'm going to go ahead and predict that Malik plays the next game, but we'll see, right? And Spencer Knight for the U.S. And Spencer Knight had a nice bounce back game from his last appearance. Really rough appearance from him in the last game, and then this kind of turns things around. And now that whole group is up in the air. Who's going to win that group? No idea. This is going to be fascinating to watch the rest of the way. So it's back and forth play early. Roska takes a penalty, which gives the U.S. the power play. The Czechs took too many penalties today. I'm going to start off with that. And they showed the fans on the webcams. They look bored. So they have these webcams, and it's the same sort of thing I've seen with wrestling, too, where they get all these webcams set up like, okay, fans can't be in attendance, so here's how the fans are. And in WWE, you'll see the webcams in the background, and people are just going... Because you know, they're probably being told, animated, or you're out of here. Well, basically, these screens, you had one kid that's just bouncing around like, yeah, I'm on TV, and everybody else is kind of like... Every other screen was just somebody just kind of looking around, kind of bored. There was one guy in a USA jersey in particular, and if you watch, you know which guy. And he just looked like he'd rather be somewhere else. I thought, man, is he there? Like, how does this? So I laughed, and I know that wasn't what was intended. And then they went to the Czech feed. They had the Czechs that they're taking videos on, and they looked sort of. This is my life now. So. I got a kick out of that. It's something that I understand what they're trying to do, but sometimes it just makes it look like people are going, why am I watching this game? All right, they're going to have me on the TV, yeah, I guess. So the shots turn out okay. After a solid penalty kill for the Czechs, the shots were 6-6 through 7.5 minutes. Very good back and forth game. And again, I thought both Parik and Knight were playing well early. Johnson had a penalty then that gave the Czechs a power play. That was defended well by the Americans. And then Cam York, he had a nice play to defend an odd man rush by the Czechs. So, again, very evenly played first period. Modified trap being employed by the Czech team. So, here's the thing. The Americans would have seen this being employed against the Russians. And this is where everybody being in the same city, this is where that kind of takes effect, where Americans pre-scouting this would have said, okay, so this is what we have to do. And clearly they had a plan. And things got kind of scrappy in the final minute. But through that first period, the Czechs were the better team. I would argue they were the better of the two teams. They outshoot the Americans 10-8. And I thought overall very well played period. So we go to the second period. And the first minute, they show the fan cams again. And I had to laugh because this time everybody was celebrating and cheering. And I thought, you guys got told, didn't you? That's just, in my mind, I was thinking, somebody sat down and told them, hey, you've got to be more animated because you're on TV. Or there's this. They weren't cued and told they were going to be on TV. Maybe they couldn't see that they were on television, so maybe they didn't know. And this time around, they knew. But either way, they were more animated, which I thought made it funnier. Parik made an early save on Hallison. Knight was sharp when tested around 4.5 minutes in, and that was key. Because it's Brink scoring for the U.S. from Hallison at 5:33. And I will agree with Craig Button on this. You have to say Bobby Brink. You can't just say his last name. You can't. It's Bobby Brink. And he was supposed to be drafted by the Boston Bruins just for the alliteration alone. And Boston, you still disappointed me by not drafting this kid. Bobby Brink of the Boston Bruins. It's just... Okay. The U.S. then pushed for more. As soon as they got that goal, it's like the momentum picked up. Their confidence picked up. And on some level, it felt like the Czechs kind of... The wind went out of their sails after that first goal went in. Net crashing by the U.S., which led to some more disagreements between the players, which led to 4-on-4 play. During the 4-on-4, Zegras scores for the Americans from Thrun at 13:30. So, yeah, it's 2-0. But again, it didn't feel like the game was necessarily completely out of range for the Czechs, but it'll get there. And that was a cross-ice pass by Thrun to Zegras. Parik had no chance. There was none. But Parik was also way out of the net. So he wasn't anywhere near the position he had to be to come over and make that save. He had committed, and he committed wrong. So Zegras with the goal. Parik then stopped a Caulfield chance. The Czechs started to push back, but it doesn't last. At 15:56, who scores? Bobby Brink. not of the Boston Bruins, from Beniers and Johnson at 15:56. So that made it 3-0. And this is when things start to get really shaky. Parik coughs up the puck behind his net shortly thereafter. The Czechs did clear it, but you could see that third goal really kind of rattled the whole Czech team. The U.S. was in complete control. The Czechs were running around in their own zone. They couldn't get the puck. So we go to the third period with it 3-0. Solid start to the third by the States. And I think this is easily the best game the U.S. has played in this tournament. Easily the best game that they've played. So now that loss to the Russians doesn't look anywhere near as bad, because the Russians lost against the Czechs. So in that third period, early on, it becomes 4-0. Zegras scores from Faber at 6:03, and that was during a delayed penalty. So they had the extra guy in the ice. It doesn't count as a power play goal, but it kind of looks like a power play goal. So during the 6-on-5, they get the goal. The Czechs then take a penalty. The U.S. goes to the power play, and on the power play, it's Kaliev scoring at 8 minutes and 18 seconds. So that's 2 goals within 2:15 of each other, and it's 5-0. And then the push just continued. The Americans kept piling it on. Caulfield scores at 10 minutes and 22 seconds. So Caulfield gets off the schneid with that goal. And at that point, they showed Malik getting off the bench and getting ready to commit to the game. So at 6-0, and while Malik's getting his equipment on and getting ready to come in, at 11:22, 1 minute later, Boldy scores on the power play from Zegras and Caulfield. That makes it 7-0, and after that, Malik goes in for the Czechs. This was a complete and total meltdown by the Czech team once we reached 3-0. After it was 3-0, everything fell apart. For the Czechs, they have to look at what they did the first period of this game, where they were ahead 10-8 in shots, and forget about the rest of it as well as they can. Second period was 14-7 were the shots for the U.S., 7-5 in the third. The final shots were 30-22. The final score was 7-0. So they have to put that aside. Again, I think for the Czechs, you go with Malik in the next game, and you just have to kind of brush this one off and say, okay, so that happened. We can't let that happen again. And it's a score that looks very similar to the one when they played Sweden. So they have to kind of focus on what they did against the Russians. And if you're the Russians watching this, you have to think, okay, so did the Czechs play that well against us, or did we play down to them? What happened there? So that's a question the Russians are going to have to answer. Your players of the game, Kucheruk was the player of the game for the Czechs, and Bobby Brink, not of the Boston Bruins, for the Americans. Boston should have drafted Bobby Brink. I'm wearing a Montreal hat because Caulfield got off the schneid. Nice goal by Caulfield, and then he gets the assist here. So Caulfield's heating up at the right time. I had considered wearing an Anaheim hat as well. Zegras looks fantastic. Of the players in this tournament, the ones that I think are probably the most NHL ready, Zegras looks great. So if you're a Ducks fan, I honestly think the future looks fantastic. Zegras, at least in this tournament, has looked like the real deal. And this tournament is odd in that over the 30-plus years I've watched it, there have been players who've dominated at this tournament who haven't made it in the NHL. Players who've looked lost in this tournament, maybe got cut by Team Canada or the Team USA, and they make it and they're great NHLers. And so this tournament gives you an idea of how they may do, but it is an interesting tournament in that it doesn't necessarily mean if you get the success here, you'll get it in the National Hockey League after. But hey, thumbs up to the U.S. for a tremendous effort, a full 60 minutes played, and they look good. So they are still in a position where they could win the division. They are still in a position where they could have a really good seeding to start the medal round, which is not that far off. So this tournament goes fast. Canada versus the Swiss is up next. I plan to take notes on that. I do expect a similar score to this one, especially since they weren't happy with their overall effort against the Czechs in that 3-1 win. So I kind of sort of expect another ugly game today. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below regarding this game as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.